At any time during the show, type Spectrum, leave a space, type in your contribution and name, then send it to 7197. Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
Hello, a very warm welcome to Spectrum on Radio 1. My name is Edmond, Kizito, your host. On Spectrum tonight, what is the role of the community in curtailing domestic violence, and where can a victim of domestic violence seek assistance when in danger? The Domestic Violence Act was passed by Parliament in March 2010 and quickly assented to by President Museveni. Despite this welcome development, violence on the home front continues to manifest itself. The question many people are asking now is why, if the law is in place, are we seeing an increase in such violence? Is the law powerless to help? And if that is the case, how do we get around this problem? So tonight on Spectrum, we ask the question, what is the role of the community in curtailing domestic violence, and where can a victim get redress? Our guest tonight, Mr. Kiwanuka, Program Officer for CEDOVIP, that's the Center for Domestic Violence Prevention. You're most welcome, Mr. Kiwanuka.
Thank you, Edmond. Good evening, listeners.
We're also joined by Mr. David Batema, Deputy Registrar of the High Court. You're most welcome, Mr. Batema.
Thank you and good evening, listeners.
And viewers as well, because we are also available on the internet via YouTube. You can get a video of Spectrum for any date of YouTube, of the internet, the World Wide Web. Mr. Kiwanuka, if the Domestic Violence Act was passed in 2010, assented to by the President very, very quickly, was operationalized about a year ago, July the 6th, 2011, why do we continue to see an increase in this vice?
Well, thank you, Edmond. As Edmond has already said it, we have the law on domestic violence in place. Despite that, we still have problems around relationships in the homes, between intimate partners, between children, between anyone in the domestic relationship. These problems, we have lived along with them for several years. We're actually talking about an intergenerational problem. We are talking about practices that we have learned and we have lived with for quite a long time, that we've seen our grandfathers and mothers practice. So we are talking about a law that came into place in just about a year ago. It's not actually a year, because it came into practice on 6th July 2011. So that means this is a new law, and therefore we still have a very big task of making this law popular to the people so they know where to seek justice. But again, I must say that this is a problem that people do not yet see as a problem. People feel and have been used to the violence. Despite the efforts that have been done by the different stakeholders, the media people who are doing a very, very great job, civil society organizations, the government coming into play with such a very wonderful law, shows a lot of effort from the different people. But as I said earlier, people have gotten used so much to their behaviors and do want to stay in the comfort zone. Yeah? When you talk about change from violence to non-violence, so many people look at this as a problem. They look at the problem and then they think they are losing what they have enjoyed for the rest of their years. You talk about someone balancing power in their relationships, sharing laws, sharing opportunities, making joint decisions. All these seem and sound very, very hard for some individuals who over time have held the power in their hands, have taken decisions over everything, including the life of individuals and their families, So when we talk about domestic violence, people have taken it to be part of them, and so we still have to do a lot. The law in place, yes, we must promote it. We must ask everyone who is a stakeholder in this law. It's good to know we're talking about everyone's role in the community to promote this law. But still, all other efforts must continue with the law, Edmond, to make sure that whatever is coming in, it must be a holistic approach, a sexual approach. We talk about the law, we talk about the religious leaders, we talk about the LOCs doing their work, we talk about the neighbors in the community do their role of promoting safety for everyone in their communities. So I'm very optimistic that the law will do its role, but it's just the beginning of the law, so we still have to do a lot to promote the law so it becomes popular to the people, alongside all the other approaches that we've been really using to make sure that we prevent violence in our communities.
Mr. Batema, is this, some people have said that you cannot legislate morality. Is this morality or is it a matter of the law?
What is moral about violence? Nothing. What is private about a slap? What is private about a kick? Nothing. You see, when we talk about factors that have perpetuated violence, we are talking about the law itself. What has been the existing law? Perhaps none. And what there has been, sections of the law attacking the symptoms of violence, and then everybody has got different interpretations of that law, affected by culture, affected by tradition and custom, affected by religion. So when we talk about violence today, or domestic violence, everybody will tell you, I'm worried about it, because they haven't seen the new version of the law. They are thinking in terms of the existing law of the past, or which has been repealed, which has been substituted. Now, when everybody assumes that somebody assumes that he or she knows the law, when in fact he or she doesn't know the law, it becomes very dangerous to interpret the law to that person. If the law will do so, that person remains grumbling, saying, I think he was seen. Oh no, that's not the way it has been. You see, even the victims of the violence may not understand you when you interpret it the way you have interpreted it. For example, if somebody is beaten, but the person perpetuating the violence is the breadwinner, is the one to pay school fees, the one to pay rent, that victim will be the first at the police station to say, I've forgiven him, or I've forgiven her, please release him or release her. And now, when you insist, let's take this person for prosecution, that victim will never understand you. So, the law, the culture, religion has dictated what norms we have in society, and so when you bring the definition of domestic violence now, it looks legalistic as compared to what has been accepted as the norm.
All right, I would like you to tell us what your own prescription is. But before you do that, is pardon a remedy? When a man has been forgiven by his beloved wife at the police station, do they go home and repent and they become meek and they don't do that anymore?
Yes and no. When you look at the violence cycle or circle, there are always promises of reforming, then there are gifts, then the violence reoccurs and people go into that circle again and again.
It doesn't heal it.
A problem, yes, if one has clearly acknowledged his or her mistakes, his or her violence. When you acknowledge the violence, it is possible for you to change.
Something goes out of your
yes, but before you acknowledge it and you are finding scapegoats, you are blaming it on the beer, you are blaming it on the neighbor, you are blaming it on good influence, then you can never change.
Or even the victim.
Or even the victim. So, while I would not have done this, but you did all this, you should not provoke me, and that one, the pardon here doesn't come.
Sometimes this pardon has been really coerced by the service providers. You find someone is before the
service providers?
For example, the mediators.
Right.
Yeah? They say what she wants is only for you to say sorry. Can you please apologize to your partner so you can go peaceful at home? So in such a circumstance,
sorry while planning the next.
The perpetrator does not say sorry. What is a sorry? When you say sorry, that's not I am sorry.
Right.
What we are looking for in reconciliation, where we want you to own your violence, is where you say, I am sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. You don't say sorry. Sorry, so somebody else has done it.
Exactly.
You're just rebooting the incident. Why don't you acknowledge that you are sorry?
Right.
Yes.
So when they go, the fingers won't itch anymore.
No, they won't itch. You won't be pointing fingers because you have pointed the finger at your own heart, at your own self. You say, I'm sorry. You're not saying, you provoked me. Yes, that's where we go.
Repentance has a humbling effect. When you've gone through it, you don't want to go through it again most times.
No, you see, repentance, remorsefulness, it should come from the bottom of the heart of the perpetrator of the violence. It shouldn't be coerced. It can be advised, but you let the perpetrator of the violence originate it,
yes,
and say it in the possible ways the other one will understand
at the bottom of his heart.
Yes, and say, if need be, you can allow them to refer to past incidents. Now, if today you say I'm sorry, then tomorrow I am sorry, then the other day I'm sorry, it loses meaning. It doesn't. So the pardon as a remedy is not good, but reconciliation is.
Right.
Simply saying I'm sorry, rather sorry, is not good enough. You say I am sorry,
right,
then you proceed to the next step of reconciliation. If you are sorry, what next? These other gifts you bring when they are not asked for.
The flowers and
the flowers, and the new dress, the pair of shoes may not count so much. Others buy cars, or I'll take you out for a night in Governor. All those may not.
To dance the night away.
I think what matters is sitting down and talking one to one, and if need be, with a counselor, with a trusted friend,
someone
or neighbor,
right,
and not one who will take sides. And perhaps it also helps if the person mediating knows what violence is,
right,
knows the consequences, more so knows the myths around violence, right, because it has been justified where there is no actual justification, and I call that a myth. For example, that when I hit my wife, I'm showing her love. Who did that research? Is there empirical data that when you hit your lover, you are expressing love? And we have figures. Did somebody get a PhD in that?
Okay.
And say that one researched slapping and kicking the lover, and he has a degree in philosophy and can reason around it.
Right.
That's a myth. If one said, you see, if you want to be a wholesome woman, you should do female genital mutilation.
Right.
What's the research saying? Does it add to women to do female genital mutilation?
Right.
Or it subtracts something?
Okay. Mr. Kiwanuka, give us your own prescription. What really should we do to get this thing out of the way?
Well, like how his worship has already said, I think the struggle is with us. First of all, we need to first look at domestic violence as an injustice. That's the starting point. Whatever you wouldn't want to be done to you, so you shouldn't do to the other. In our communities, as already we said, domestic violence has really been strongly embedded into our normal life, and that's why people usually say, it is normal, it is natural, it is usual for men to behave the way they behave, for women to behave the way they behave.
The way they put it is this.
Yes.
You know how women behave.
Yeah.
You know how men behave.
Yeah.
Men are like that. Women are like that. What are they saying? That it is acceptable.
It is acceptable.
It's normal. Yeah. Don't you have eyes? Can't you see? Don't you have ears? Haven't you ever heard of such and such?
Yeah.
It has been happening. Why are you being unique? Why are you condemning it? Continue.
And that's the starting point. The moment we tackle these norms and practices that condone the violence in our communities, and everyone starts to feel a little uncomfortable, because I've always said a change can only come with that kind of discomfort. We are so used to holding all the power upon all the decisions in our communities, in our homes, in our institutions. It is the time to rethink our use of power, our understanding of power, our understanding of love and responsibility. So we are doing everything to ask everyone in the communities to be part of this movement. Start today to think how you would feel if this is happening to you. Many times I've asked men, okay, yes, you say violence is normal, it is okay to discipline your wife. Sometime back I was here and someone was asking, how should we punish our women if you really don't accept us to use violence? And I was wondering how someone could really be a judge and at the same time the complainant in his own case. But the idea is, let's see this as an injustice. When you ask men, what do you think about the violence? We are supposed to discipline these women. If a woman is big-headed, you're supposed to make her a good woman. In fact, they do it, and even they say this to them, why are you not like other women? And that's what the meaning, you know. It means you've tested, seen several of them, and so you're even comparing your particular wife. And in this case, what we're actually saying is that when you think about your use of power, you will know that what I'm doing to my partner is not what I'm supposed to do. We know that we have the law. Therefore, just assess your use of power in your own home. Make a checklist of how you really take a decision in your home. For example, when you have a decision jointly, is your intention to reach a mutual consensus, or to win over, for selfishly to get what you want? When you're considering, for example, decisions around the income, is it for the benefit of the family? If you are taking decisions about how many children to have, is it for the benefit of the both of you, including the one who will hold the pregnancy for 9 months and also bear the children and take care of them? So what we need to really think is our use of power. When you ask individuals, you know, they will tell you violence is normal. Then you ask them, what about if this happened to your daughter? You say, I will kill you.
That's a good question.
I will kill you. You say, okay.
He's beating his woman.
Yes.
Ask you,
would you let this happen to your daughter? I will kill you.
Your mother.
Yeah, I will end up in a good girlfriend. Yes. I will end up in a Rosetta. So you ask them, did you pick this woman from the street that she does not belong to any parent? Who would like
She was picked from the street.
Yes.
Men are picked from the street. Did she consent to the violence? She must have consented to other things and not the violence. I always ask people who go for Kwanjula.
Yes.
Can you be brave enough and say, please give me your daughter. I'll be bashing her every night. First folks of the car before you sleep. I'll be kicking her if she's late. I'll be pulling her ears if she does ABCD. I'll be throwing acid at her if I find her standing with front. So will they give you their daughter at that introduction ceremony? Because you have come to extend a hand in marriage. Or if you are in a church and you mention what you want to do in this violence, will the church advise you that that's the best way of disciplining this woman? So now would you please take your life since you have made those vows? No. But let's go back to the definition of domestic violence.
Yes, sir.
How does it stand now? I read from the text, right, section 2 of interpretation of the Domestic Violence Act.
Yes.
And it says domestic violence constitutes any act or omission of a perpetrator which, now it says any act or omission. Omission is a failure to do something.
You don't bring chips at
you may act or fail to do the following. Any act or by the
some of the omissions that people would undertake to punish.
Why don't we begin with what people do before we talk about the omissions? Right. To harass, which harasses injures or endangers the health, the safety, life, limb, or well-being, whether mental or physical, of the victim, or tends to do so, and includes causing physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional, verbal, and psychological abuse, and economic abuse. Any act or omission which harasses, harms, injures, or endangers the victim with a view of coercing him or her, or any other person related to him or her, to meet any unlawful demand for any property or valuable security. Any act or omission which has the effect of threatening the victim or any person related to the victim by any conduct mentioned in the above paragraphs, or otherwise injures or causes harm, whether physical or mental, to the victim. Economic abuse is also explained, interpreted to include deprivation
yes.
of all or any economic or financial resources to which the victim is entitled under any law or custom,
okay,
whether payable under an order of a court or otherwise, which the victim requires out of necessity, including but not limited to household necessities, property jointly or separately owned, blah 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 blah. So if you came and ordered your wife to bring out the millet from the granary,
yes,
and then sold it for Ajono, instead of using it for food, and now we sell it for beer.
Yes.
Which the family is not going to enjoy. That's domestic violence.
Let's talk about the towns. Many people won't understand what a granary is.
If you from the store.
Yes.
If you went to the store and used the property which is meant to serve the family, but sold it for personal use.
Let's make it simple. You got the ATM card, you went to the withdraw joint funds, and you went to the bar. And drank,
and perhaps married a third and fourth and fifth wife, instead of caring about those you have, authority over. You're doing exactly that. For example, you withdraw the money or you sell the property just to go and have a nice hairdo, or have a outing, launching, tender love or whatever. That's domestic violence. So it's not limited to slapping or sexual assault.
Right.
But physically, psychologically, people don't consider psychological and emotional.
It won't take longer to heal. If someone called your mother a name, you'll probably never forgive them unless God.
But some people don't actually see it as an abuse.
If someone hits you, you'll forget it soon.
We were at school, and somebody said this. I'm sorry, I have to say it. I said kumanyoko. And it was a word passing out of the mouth without any literal concern for whom it was, to whoever it was directed. Right. And when I went to Tanzania, my colleague said that is a very bad word. It shouldn't ever be said. Yeah. They would rather say masikini ya Mungu. Now,
they would rather call you a poor man.
Sorry. See, so people have to recognize first. To recognize the acts of violence, then they will appreciate that it is violence.
Right.
Not until they've recognized them will they say, what can I say? Before you recognize something, you will take it as normal, usual, obvious, natural, automatic.
Right.
And why are you so depressed when I said kuma? It was a simple word.
So the mindset is conditioned to it.
Now you break a glass and somebody says, look at her. Did you have glasses in Budaka? That's what belongs to you. You don't know even how to handle a wine glass. And they are visitors, they are guests. That's domestic violence. This is a driver. He makes a mistake. All of us drive and we make mistakes. And there you are slapping the driver. You're having insult to him. He can't concentrate on driving. You go home and listen. People do that. This is a house girl. By mistake, the food has got burnt. And you know what people do to their house girls and housemaids?
On the head.
Oh my God. Get the mortar, pound her. Deny her a good meal. Get the juice, pour it into her face. That is domestic violence.
These things actually happen.
They do happen. Wow.
As she's opening the fridge, someone hits her from the back because she committed a small crime.
Indeed, and they think since these people are in power, there's nowhere to report. If I reported, I'd lose my job.
What's the penalty?
We're talking about the consideration.
What are the penalties if someone did that?
Very stiff. Very stiff. Let me open the section for.
Very briefly.
It has.
All right, let's go for a break. When we come back, you'll have found it and we shall hear it. This is Spectrum listeners on Radio 1 tonight. What is the role of the community in curtailing domestic violence, and where can a victim go to seek assistance when in danger or when afflicted? We'll be back after this break.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Remember me because I tried.
Remember me, not for the moves I pulled.
All the goals I scored. My dribbling, my passes on target.
My footwork, my tough defense.
Don't remember me for the score. For whether I won or lost. Remember me because I played. Because I laced up my boots.
And I stepped onto the pitch.
Remember me because I listened to the voice inside. And with everything in me,
I played.
As the Airtel Rising Stars tournament heats up, we are giving you the chance of a lifetime. Send ARS to 6333 and stand a chance to win a fully paid trip for two to the UK to watch a Premier League match. That's not all. You can win 1 million shillings, soccer balls daily, and 2.5 million shillings or a jersey of your favorite team every week. SMS ARS to 6333 and win with the Airtel Rising Stars.
Airtel. John, Mike and I, we go back a bit. We knew John at the beginning, working for someone else. But he was different. He had vision, saw opportunities. He started working towards his goal, opened his own garage, and worked, learning the hard way. His reputation spread. Trust, consistency, quality. Soon people were coming to him from all parts. He made himself and his whole street prosper, and also helped friends, seeing potential in people and helping them on. But John never shouts about all his success. He is just who he is. Special.
So here's to men like John, who make a difference, who enjoy Nile Special, the rich, satisfying taste from the source. Nile Special. You've earned it.
Not for sale to persons under 18.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Welcome back to Spectrum on Radio 1. Tonight, what is the role of the community in curtailing domestic violence, and where can a victim of such violence seek help when in danger? Our guest tonight, Mr. Kiwanuka, Program Officer at CEDOVIP, that's the Center for Domestic Violence Prevention, and Mr. David Batema, Deputy Registrar of the High Court. You will be able to call in and contribute to this discussion. Mr. Batema, what's the penalty, very briefly, before we look at something else? You pay half a million shillings.
This is a very,
for 2 years. Is that correct?
This is a very positive law. Before we think about imprisonment, before we think about incarceration, we are talking about obtaining other remedies, so that when you talk about penalty and you are talking in terms of imprisonment, you have tried all these
and they have failed.
And they have failed. You are talking about a caution. You are talking about an apology to the victim, and that is very serious. And when you talk about counseling as a remedy rather than a penalty, somebody is going to spend money, somebody is going to pay for counseling, somebody is going to spare time off the job. You ask for permission, say, please, manager Radio 1, give me permission. I've been required to sit in counseling for 8 hours.
That's very
every day.
Very humbling.
Yes, very humbling. And we are talking about community service.
Slashing the roadside.
It can be slashing, it can be washing, it can be any job that you are doing for the good of the community. In view of the community, they are seeing you doing it.
People will see you.
Yes, and you know,
it's also very humbling.
Very humbling. It's like a neck around your neck, community service.
You know, in the Bible days, if you read the Bible and some of these other books, they say if you committed adultery, they ask you to take a bull to the, the priest on the hill. So when they see you carrying a bull, they know that one slept with another woman.
Indeed, then you can talk about compensation.
Yeah.
Are you able to if you did burn my dress or my jacket,
you have to replace it.
I'm saying compensate me. It cannot be 100%, but adequate enough to soothe my feelings.
All right.
We are talking about reconciliation. People coming back to each other and acknowledging the wrong they've done.
Right.
We are talking about restoration. Can you restore my bottle of mineral water you poured? Can you restore my glasses which you broke? Restoration goes to replacing the actual property destroyed during the domestic violence.
Yes.
You may not restore my ear. So that one goes into compensation.
Right.
It goes into paying of damages.
Okay.
We are also talking about attachment and sale of property of the perpetrator of the victim.
So if you for example,
if for example you did break the car glasses and you damaged the car, now we can, and you don't have ready money to give me, we attach your property, maybe a piece of land or your car, we sell it, so that money is given to the victim.
All right.
to replace. But when we go to terms of fines and imprisonment, the fine will not exceeding 25 currency points.
So 500,000 shillings, is it?
Indeed, 25 times
20,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
A currency point is 20,000. So that fine, when you dip your hand in the pocket, you can feel the weight of the slap, the weight of the kickboxing you did, the golola you did on your spouse.
Right.
If you were the woman and you did it, now you feel it in your pocket. If you are the man and you did it to your house girl or to the driver
it will be
or to the shadow boy, it is hurtful.
All right.
Yes, those are the penalties.
Talk to us about change agents. When someone has been harmed, where do they go and how can these units help to end domestic violence?
Well, in terms of domestic violence, we advise, and the law requires that you seek support from the local council courts. Local council courts are supposed to register complaints, take statements from you, and then advise you on how to proceed. For example, the law says a case of domestic violence should be heard within 48 hours.
48 hours?
Yes, and this is the law that gives LOC powers to hold hearings over beyond the working hours and over the weekends, for example, and public holidays.
Yes, the same to the courts.
Yes,
this is an innovation. Or the magistrates.
They can call it on
shall be called upon to handle these matters.
Of course, look at the agents of the matter.
We shall come up, I think, with a system in the courts where a particular magistrate shall be on standby. Just like you said, Dr. Sonso is on standby
in the hospital.
Yes. In other countries like Brazil, they are specialized courts. They are not called domestic violence courts. They are called problem-solving courts.
Problem-solving courts.
Yes, and so when you go there, it is like a one-stop center. There is a police post, then there is a courtroom, then there are rooms for probation and social welfare officers. Next, there are counselors, and then from there, you can be handed over to the prison or these other, remedies we have talked about. So I foresee Uganda going that way.
You could have a family court, like have the commercial court. You think so?
Yeah, this will be a family court. We already have family and children's court, but I think we need to focus much more.
How deficient is that?
Oh my God, there are so many problems. I'm not the spokesperson for the judiciary, but when Mr. Haji Kisauze comes, we'll put that to him.
So that's one of the support structure that we have in our community, LOC local council courts, and then we have the police. Police is really given a lot of responsibility within the domestic violence law. They attend to cases of like defilement, rape, and then these cases are supposed to be registered at the police. And police is also in charge of taking statements from the complainant or representatives of the complainants. The other aspect of this law, His Worship has already mentioned that this is a very positive law, is that it gives a chance to a representative to register a complaint on behalf of the victim.
Oh.
I am concerned as those someone in the neighborhood.
To the neighbor.
Yes, exactly. She's not willing to come out and talk about this matter.
So you go to court.
Yes, I'm given.
Report it.
Yes, I report it.
But she might deny. She says we're just we're only cracking jokes.
Well, by the time I report, I must be sure that we shall be able to gather evidence that is enough, of course, to have this person answer cases of domestic violence or abuse of her rights. Then the other, we have the Probation and Welfare Office. These have been charged with investigating into cases of, for example, children or child rights abuse in the communities, and particularly in domestic spheres. LOCs will be writing to the probation and welfare officers. These are situated at every division or sub-counties if we go into the rural setting. They are supposed to come and investigate into cases of alleged domestic violence that is targeted or directed towards a child, where people have not really, for example, come up to report it or to complain at the police or to the LOCs, okay? And then, still the probation and welfare officer, in a case the magistrate court is going to decide to give a reconciliation or to consider counseling or to consider, for example, handing over a child in custody of someone they are sure that this child is growing and is enjoying full rights, they will consider taking a report of the probation and welfare officer where this child lives or stays or has been really violated, okay? So you realize that all these are very, very key stakeholders in the law. Then we go to the magistrates who are really charged with, hearing all these cases of domestic violence, but most importantly, they have been charged with, offering or providing the protection order. And this is the time really I would ask Mr. Batema to tell us more about the protection order, because this is something that is new to us, and people don't seem really to understand that it's possible for someone really to be, yes.
Protection orders under the law, orders you can apply for. You, the victim, you can apply for these orders, or you can apply before you have become a victim. If you anticipate that the woman online is going to hit you, or that this and this might happen, you go to seek for prevention orders. You go to the court. You go to the magistrate's court.
Tell them the man, the way he's rolling his eyes.
According to this and this and this, I wait. I'm in danger. I face danger. Or it has already happened, and there might be a case of repetition of this.
So even if it hasn't happened, you look at the man, the way he's looking at you, you say it's likely to happen soon.
Or what is taking place, or the threats that have been issued. You can rely on that.
A man might come home and give you a look, and you say, this man, the next step is to...
Indeed. We have a case where we were presenting some drama in Soroti. And one woman came out dancing, and everybody was enjoying her dance until the husband came to the front and just gave a stern look, and the woman stopped dancing.
And the man who does
said that it could be followed some domestic violence when they are back home. If she had continued dancing, the way she had so everyone can speak so many words, even silence. And speak so many millions of words.
Right.
So protection orders are granted by the magistrate's court to prevent the violence from occurring, or to stop what is going on, or what has been going on.
And this
protection
of paper, a letter or something.
Yeah, the person reporting, if he's learned and well educated, or is a lawyer, will present an affidavit, kind of the application in writing, followed with an affidavit sworn. But if it's somebody reporting on somebody else's behalf and what have you, the regulations have made it simpler. The act is very stringent. The regulations have been made a bit simpler by the minister to say you can make an oral statement, and then the magistrate reduces it into writing. And when the court is convinced that it's necessary to take this precaution, they will do it. It's a form of yellow card to say take a warning. We move against you.
You can get a court yellow card.
That's the yellow card, the protection order.
Give it to the man.
Yes, we are giving you like a yellow card in football. Say, don't do it, don't repeat it. You see, you could go attempting to do it, and now the referee is saying, I've seen you. You've been reported. Don't do this, or stop doing it. And if you do it, you get there are consequences, And in fact, if you violate that order,
yes,
the court begins with that.
What about
you have slapped a judge. You have slapped a magistrate.
Becomes a
that court order, or not obeying that court order,
right.
You have disobeyed the magistrate or the judge who has issued it.
So
you begin with that contempt of court.
When the woman has the door and you pinch her nose, you are in contempt of court.
That order is the magistrate or the judge in your home, in your face. Whenever you look at it, whenever you're speaking to it, you're speaking to the court itself. Now, if you go ahead and violate it, you are charged with that contempt or breach of the protection orders, in addition to the violence you have committed.
If we say that it happens out, so it's easier for men who hit their wives.
Oh no, because we are considering a homely relationship, and this law was very mindful of not causing divorces, not causing separation of couples, but disciplining whoever is violent. It doesn't matter whether you are female or male, whether you are the head of the home or not, whether you are a good driver or a good maid. We are telling you, we want your services, we want your company, but not the violence.
Does it have a time limit? Does it, do you give it for like 2 years or whatever, or is it for good?
No, not more than 3 months.
Yes,
not more than 3 months.
You can renew it.
No, you can get a permanent one, which is a red card, and you are excluded from the home.
What does that mean?
Mr. Kizito, we are telling you, get out of that home and don't come back until the court orders you to go back.
Yes.
We have seen that you are violent. You are the only factor that is bringing violence in that home. Keep away. We tell you so many meters from those people, or from that gate, or from that door, for such a number of days. Then, when you go, you have to go back and convince court that you are actually reformed. We have to hear it from your mouth. We have to hear it to see it from your actions that you are actually not violent. And this is a new phenomenon. Because yes, you need to show
relocation for the
yes, there's a process.
Yes, we have to go and appeal to the
same
court.
The same court.
Yeah, the same court.
So I am here, well married, I've reformed, forgive me my sins and my mistakes, and now I'm going to do this, I've done this. I've already done this, I've already done this. I now ask for your blessing, court. Can I go back to my home and see my people and whatever? But that one cannot go on for more than 3 months. But we are trying to see whether you are a good, family chap. If you don't reform, then we go in for the imprisonment.
Oh.
Yes, we shall go in for the imprisonment. Someone say in African setting, how do you send out a man from his home? The relatives will descend on this woman, will descend on what? We are yet to see what will happen.
Okay.
We haven't had these orders yet issued. I'm yet to hear of a particular court which has issued them.
Okay.
I myself have threatened to issue some, but the men really knew that I was very serious, and they reformed, and they showed me good signs of reform. So I've not had the chance.
Okay.
And I'm not itching to issue them.
Alright, let's hear from the listeners. This is Spectrum on Radio 1 tonight. What is the role of the community in curtailing domestic violence, and where can a victim of such violence seek redress? You can call in now. Our numbers 0414 348 111, 0312 260 390, 0312 261 390. When you call in, please tell us your name and where you're calling from. So this protection order is a brand new thing.
It's a brand new thing, but I think it's for the good of our community.
It's for the good of our community.
It's for the good of the victims, for the good of the perpetrator.
And the
you
children.
see, it's like an open prison.
An open prison.
Let's an open prison.
Spectrum, hello?
Hello.
Yes, sir, your name?
My name is Dale.
Dale, yes?
I'm calling and I'm just wondering the criteria of time that
Okay, Spectrum, hello? Hello? Alright, let's continue. Mr.
The 3 months period.
Okay, we have a caller on the line. Spectrum, hello? Hello?
Hello.
Yes, madam, your name? Your name is?
Thank you so much for this. My question.
Thank you very much indeed for that. Wow, we're back. Spectrum, hello? Hello? Okay, let's continue right now. Deus, talk to us.
Well, thank you. I want to begin with the last caller.
Okay, let's take our final caller for tonight. Spectrum, hello? Yes, sir, your name?
Thank you very much for that introduction.
All right, let's get back to the studio.
Yes, someone is talking about the rotten society where people believe they have the right to discipline those, he used the word, below them. I don't want really to take that on. We have already said that change is possible, and we are working towards this change. We must understand that domestic violence is a problem, but not only a problem, but also an abuse of human rights. And so we have a law to reach out to those who have really failed to reform, to change, and I'm encouraging those who really feel that their rights have been abused and violated to reach out to these centers that we've already mentioned to you. You go to the local council courts, you go to the police, you go to the magistrates, depending on the nature of the case. I must also say that we have other supporting systems within our communities. Let us put good use of these structures. And then the idea of punishing someone in the name of disciplining is not acceptable. No one has a right to discipline the other. It's only the courts of law that have been given this mandate, and where someone actually has been proven, you've proved it to court beyond reasonable doubt that someone is really worth getting a punishment. So there is no one who has a right to punish the other in the family, whether a child or any other person in that family relationship. Okay? Mr. Batema, do you want to respond today about the period, or when you think about someone can
why 3 months? How did they come to it?
Period or a longer period?
There was research done by the Law Reform Commission, and then the findings were debated at various workshops, conferences, and then all these reforms were presented to Cabinet and Parliament. The majority of the people interviewed thought that 3 months is a reasonable period to allow a family member to reform, if he or she is going to reform. But to wait longer than that would mean affecting, for example, the school calendar. It would affect the religious calendars. Kizito, is it what? Ramadan or what? You know, they were trying to see that if one missed this chance of reform, maybe at the next stage there will be a chance of reform. If one missed it at Easter, should we wait for Christmas? You know, most people who have had violence come together during these religious festivities.
They reconcile.
They reconcile.
And cook the turkey.
Yes. Others come together during the seasons. How long does the maize crop take, the groundnut crop take to be harvested? So the people are very happy while they are cultivating. Come to the season of harvesting and selling, there is violence. When is the next season? There are so many things they discussed to bring it to
3 months.
Approximately 3 months. But the court has the jurisdiction to extend it or to lessen it. You are saying within 3 months.
Right.
So within 3 months can even be hours or minutes, and we have solved it. The court can also extend it if there is a chance of making a breakthrough and people casting away the culture of violence. Yes, it is true that people think naturally, obviously, automatically. That's the way they have grown up, to believe that, for example, they have a right to discipline those who are not in power. The gender power relations in the family is that the man has top, next is the wife, then the law, the children, then ABCD. This law is putting it in black and white, that Mr. Kizito, you have no authority of disciplining or punishing. If you think there is something which requires disciplining with a stick, then we are wrong. The people are being told that in civilized societies, getting a cane, kicking somebody, breaking somebody's limb, or pouring hot water and what have you, is not allowed. Whether you are the head of the home, whether you are the mother, or whether you are the father, whether you are the driver, whether you are the housemaid providing for all these. For the first time, we are being told that in your family, in your home, you're going to have unlimited powers over the people in that home. Right. They belong to the nation. Right. The man pays tax. Nobody pays tax. The driver is driving on the road. He has to concentrate and doesn't knock and kill other people.
Just hit him from the back.
We have this housemaid. If she's annoyed and goes on killing the baby she's supposed to look after, simply because of your act, we're trying to bring civilization closer and nearer to everyday life. Drunkenness, this is just a symptom.
A drunken woman at home.
A drunken woman, a drunken woman. We all drink, but we are not as violent as that.
No, it says if the wife is drunk.
No, but I don't have a better saying.
Yes.
Whatever you do when you are drunk.
No, he's saying he's probably his wife drinks and he doesn't drink and the wife behaves funny. Should he?
No, even St. Paul said, if you are not saved and you are living with you are saved and you are living with a man who is not saved, you possibly will try to preach him or to help to change that. But let me tell you, in Masaka, I asked one person a very vulgar question. I said, tell me, what did you do when you got drunk? He said, I went home. When you went home, what did you do? He said, I went to the toilet. And when you came back to the room, yes. And when you hit your wife, yes. Why didn't you hit the wall?
What did he say?
That was one. Two, when you went to the toilet, why didn't you eat what you were passing out?
He had some.
I had to believe when you were sober.
Right.
And then him.
You put some. How much time?
Yes, drunkenness.
How much time did you give him?
Oh, I gave him community service of 60 hours.
60 hours?
Yes, and that was calculated to 4 hours per day.
Okay, thank you very much, dear guests. Mr. David Batema, he's actually a magistrate of the high. If you came into his court and you've been doing these things, you can be sure 2 months or something close there. Thank you very much indeed. Deputy Registrar.
Thank you.
Mr. Deus Kiwanuka, Program Officer for CEDOVIP, that's the Center for Domestic Violence Prevention. Thank you very much indeed for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you for hosting us.
Thank you for tuning in. I've been your host, Edmond. So Spectrum will be back tomorrow. Up next is the news in English. Do stay tuned.
Open an ice cold Nile Gold, but don't drink it just yet. Take a closer look. You'll see the rich golden color. Get closer still, and you can't miss the fresher aroma. But you'll also find something else. You won't see it, but you'll certainly taste it. The unmistakable, crisp, maltier taste that can only be crystal malt. It's what makes Nile Gold beyond the ordinary. And that really is the mystery of Nile Gold. Nile Gold Crystal Malt Lager, beyond the ordinary. Not for sale to persons under 18.
Everybody wins! Everybody wins! Everybody wins! Everybody wins! Simply join MTN today and get up to 50% bonus airtime when you recharge, plus more exciting stuff. To check your bonus airtime,